Hey everyone. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about my 2020. Uh, Going into 2020, I was optimistic that things weren't going to be like with the pandemic the way they are. And we had all these plans from 2019 that we had to cancel because of Shauna's surgeries. And so 2020 for us was going to be like our recovery year, our all right, we're going to do all these things that we didn't do last year, this year. We're going to make up for the time that we lost, and she feels better. And so all the time that we lost is going to be even better now because she feels up to things. And so that's what 2020 was going to be for us. We had a lot of trips and events and things planned, and it was just going to be a fun year of going and doing things. Obviously, that did not happen when thing after thing got canceled or postponed. And all through it, it wasn't as hard for us as I thought. Because in 2019, everything had gotten canceled for us already. So I didn't know initially what to do with all this canceled expectations. And so I just had to just give it to God and be like, okay, like there's something going on here, and what can I do? And he just started showing me areas in my life where I had given him part of it, but I was still holding on to some pieces. And so I started letting go of it fully. I'm like, all right, this is all on you. I'm going to stop you making excuses and trust you with it. Like, fully trust you with it in these areas of my lives because you can get me through it. And those were really hard. But once he started polishing those areas off fully, or as full as they can be, I started seeing the grime underneath that. And then I'm praying through those areas. And he just kind of convicted me about not just what I'm doing, but how much time am I doing with things. And so, like, how much movies, how much TV shows, how much video games, how much is recreational times, hobbies, like all these things that in themselves have the potential to be good or be redeemed, but they can be obsessive if you do them too much. And I'm like, wow, like I need to redeem my time better. I need to use my time more wisely. I need to have a kingdom mindset with my time. It doesn't need to everything cannot be entertainment and recreational all the time. So I went heavy into discerning how should I use my time. And all through this process, I have been convicted this year of, like, as a Christian, I've never read the Bible front cover to back cover in 1 year's time. And that was my goal this year. I started in the New Testament. I went all the way through the New, and then I went all the way through the Old. And let me tell you, if you've never done it before, be honest with yourself, be honest with others, and just do it. Because you're going to gain a lot from actually doing it in a year's time instead of just bits and pieces here and there. Don't be ashamed of it. Just pick it up, do it, find a reading plan. It really strengthened me because it tied everything together. It wasn't just bits and pieces. It was a whole story, and it all came together when you read it in succession. I learned to let go of things. Things that I had accumulated and held on to that I said I could let go. I hadn't really, like, internally let go. So I started letting go of things and getting rid of stuff and using things. And I quit obtaining things that I wasn't going to use. I've cut back on my accumulation of things. And not that all things are bad, but I tried to be wiser about where my money is going, because growing up, I was taught you tithe your 10%, that's God's money. Well, in reality, we're stewards of God's money. It's all his money. So we need to be accountable and wise with everything that we have. And it's not that God didn't want me to have fun, but I was having too much fun with his money. And I didn't have any money set aside to give, to help, to get out of debt. I was, of things that we could have been paying off, we were still playing with. Learning to be okay with wherever God has me in whatever situation. Earlier this year, I had dreams of Grandiose and going and doing great things for God. And I got hurt and I was like, okay, I can't do that. What can I do? Well, I'll coach basketball. And that was going great. I was training for that. I was working towards doing that. And then COVID kept happening and basketball's been canceled. I was like, okay, basketball's canceled. I can't coach. I can't witness to the kids that way. All right, so what else can I do? And all through this time, I'm increasing my spiritual disciplines, not just for myself, but for my family, for my home. We've had a great opportunity with this pandemic to be around our kids and our families, hopefully more often, and really instill into them, hey, this is important. God's important. He's important to me, and he should be important to you. And I was heavily addicted to time with my kids and being afraid of watching them grow up because they were my kids. I didn't want to let them go. But they're God's children. I'm a steward of them too, just like his money. And my goal as a parent is to raise them up in Christ so that they will take over and be of use to him. It's not to keep them as kids forever, not to love them as kids and be scared to let them grow up. It's to grow them as young men, in my case, so that when they are older and they have their families, they have those same spiritual disciplines that is talked all about in the Bible. And I had neglected that for years and years of their lives. It just wasn't there. And so this whole 2020 time, I've just been trying to feed myself, feed the boys, and feed Shauna, and just regurgitate what I take in back into them. And when I learn something new, I try to put it into them. And this has been a process. Building our skills up for the Lord. I was building up only skills for myself, for selfish ambition or enjoyment or gain. I wasn't building things up for God to use. And my mindset was not on God first to use these things. It was on me first. And so it was just a lot of just reconfiguring my thoughts and my ideas and my ideals and what I believed. I've spent the whole this last year really studying theology and doctrine and church history and all these things that I didn't know about growing up. But as Christians, we should know about our history. We should know about the great Christian leaders and people who have came before us, who have laid the groundworks besides the biblical figures in the Bible. I mean, we have the Old Testament to be encouraged by them. Well, we have a couple thousand years of other Christians and histories of, Christianity that's good to know too. And just knowing, why do we believe what we believe? How do we believe it? How can we explain it to others? All these kind of different concepts and things where I was the Bible's good enough for me, but I hadn't really read the Bible like I should. And I'm just adding all these things. I'm building up my arsenal so I can be of the most use to God, the most knowledge of God. I really love the fear of God leads to wisdom, and the search for wisdom leads to wisdom. And when you pray for wisdom, God will give it to you. And I've spent this year, I was just, God, I want to get caught up. I'm really far behind. I know that you could come back any day. And I know it's unrealistic for me to try to rush my sanctification process, but I want to absorb. And I'm not saying this to sound self-righteous, because I pray all the time about that. I don't want to be self-righteous. But he gave me what I asked for. He has increased my knowledge in him and my wisdom, and I still know so little in comparison, but I know so much more than I did. And I'm excited for 2021 to see what God is going to keep increasing in my knowledge of him, in my love of him, and my love of others. And so I wasn't hit heavily with an impact of COVID in 2020, like some have. But I wouldn't trade that year at all, because the growth that I have made in God and with my family surpassed anything that I've had in many years. I'm much closer to God than I ever have been in the 33 years of being alive, and this last year of marriage with Shauna has been probably one of the best years that I've had with her. And I feel like I'm more of a father now to the boys than I ever have been too. And so going in 2021 with what I've learned, I'm excited to see what God can use of the old me with the new me. And so this is just a recap of my 2020. Sorry it's a bit longer. I hope it's been an encouragement to you too.